Close your eyes for a second and picture retirement. Maybe it's a house with a porch, morning coffee with no alarm clock, trips you always said you'd take. A version of your life where money isn't the first thing you think about when you wake up. That's the picture most people carry around in their heads for decades, and almost none of them will get there. Not because they didn't want it badly enough, not because they weren't smart enough, but because nobody ever sat them down and showed them how retirement actually works. The math behind it, the psychology fighting against it, and the specific traps that drain the nest egg before it ever gets a chance to grow. Here's the number that should scare you. The median retirement savings for Americans between the ages of 55 and 64, that's people who are 10 years or less from retirement, is just $134,000.
If you retire at 65 and live to 85, which is entirely reasonable, that $134,000 has to cover 20 years of your life. That's $6,700 a year, $558 a month, on top of whatever Social Security pays, which for the average American is roughly $1,700 a month. That's $2,258 a month to live on, in a country where the average monthly expenses for a retired household run closer to $4,300. The math doesn't work, and most people won't realize it until it's too late to fix it. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why this happens, what's going on inside your brain that makes it almost inevitable unless you know how to fight it, and the specific framework you need to calculate your real retirement number and build toward it, starting from wherever you are right now. This is the conversation nobody had with you when it would have mattered most. Let's have it now.
The retirement savings crisis in this country isn't a secret. The numbers have been bad for a long time, and they keep getting worse. According to the Federal Reserve's Survey of Consumer Finances, roughly 45% of American households have zero retirement savings. Nothing. Not a small amount. Zero. And it gets more specific than that. Vanguard's How America Saves report, one of the most detailed looks at real retirement account behavior in the country, found that the median 401k balance across all age groups is just $35,345. The mean looks better because a small number of very large accounts pulls the average up. But the median, the number right in the middle, tells you what's actually happening for most people. $35,345. The Stanford Center on Longevity has been studying this problem for years. Their conclusion? Americans are dramatically underestimating how long they will live and dramatically overestimating how much income their savings will generate. People are planning for a retirement that lasts 10 years. They're living retirements that last 25.
And here's what makes this especially painful. This isn't a poor people problem. Middle-class households, people with steady incomes, decent jobs, functional lives, are just as exposed to this crisis as anyone else. Sometimes more so, because they make just enough money to feel like everything else in this video without ever building the system that actually makes it fine. This is not an income problem. That's the part that will change how you see everything else in this video.
Most people look at retirement savings as an income problem. If I just made more money, I'd save more. If I just got that raise, I'd start contributing more to my 401k. If things weren't so expensive right now, I'd have more left over to invest. That framing is not only wrong, it's dangerous, because it hands the responsibility for your retirement to a future version of you that may never quite arrive. The research on this is consistent and uncomfortable. Studies show that when people receive raises, their savings rate stays almost exactly the same. The extra income gets absorbed. Lifestyle adjusts upward. The intention to save more gets pushed forward to the next raise, the next year, the next life event that never quite creates the perfect moment.
This is a system problem. Wealthy people don't save what's left after they spend. They spend what's left after they save. That's not a motivational quote. That's a structurally different relationship with money that most people never learn because nobody shows it to them. The retirement crisis exists because the default system, earn money, pay bills, spend the rest, save if anything is left over, produces almost no retirement savings, even for people who are doing everything else right. Understanding why your brain supports that broken system is the first step to breaking out of it.
Your brain is not built for retirement planning. That's not an insult. It's biology. Human beings are wired for the present. We evolved in an environment where the threats were immediate and the rewards needed to be captured now because there was no guarantee of a tomorrow. That hardwiring doesn't switch off because you have a 401k and a stable job. Behavioral economists call this present bias. Given a choice between a reward now and a larger reward later, your brain systematically overvalues the present reward, even when the math clearly favors waiting. Experiments show people will choose $50 today over $100 in a year. They know the math. They choose the $50 anyway. Apply that to retirement, and you get a person who knows, rationally, that contributing to their retirement account is the smarter long-term decision, but who consistently finds reasons to delay it, reduce it, or pause it for things that feel more urgent right now. Then there's optimism bias. Humans have a documented tendency to believe their future will be better than the statistical evidence suggests. We believe we'll earn more. We believe we'll get healthier. We believe we'll have more time, more discipline, more capacity to handle the saving later. So we wait. And the waiting is the thing that costs more than almost any other financial mistake you can make. There's a third layer here that doesn't get discussed enough. Retirement is abstract in a way that makes it psychologically easy to ignore. Paying your rent is concrete. Buying groceries is concrete. Saving for a life that won't begin for 20 or 30 years, a life you can barely picture with specificity, competes very poorly against the immediate and the visible. The people who build retirement wealth aren't people who are better at resisting temptation. They're people who stopped relying on willpower and built systems that make the right behavior the automatic behavior. That's the shift. And the math is why it matters so much. Let's make this specific, because the numbers here are not abstract. They are the actual difference between retiring with dignity and retiring with almost nothing. Assume you're 30 years old. You invest $500 a month into a diversified index fund that returns an average of 8% annually, which is roughly the long-term historical average of the S&P 500 adjusted for inflation. By the time you're 65, you have approximately $1,196,000. Start at 35 instead of 30, and that same $500 a month at the same return produces $793,000. Start at 40, and you're looking at $514,000. Start at 45, and it drops to $323,000. The contribution is identical. The return rate is identical. The only variable is when you start. And the difference between starting at 30 and starting at 45, 15 years, is $873,000. Let that land for a moment. $873,000 is not the difference between being rich and being poor. It's the difference between starting at 30 and starting at 45. Now flip it. To reach that same $1,196,000 starting at 40 instead of 30, you would need to contribute not $500 a month, but approximately $1,165 a month. More than double for the same outcome. This is what people mean when they say time is the most valuable asset in investing. Not because it's a nice thing to say, because the math is ruthless. Now, let's calculate what you actually need.
Financial planners typically use the 4% rule as a starting benchmark. The rule states that a retiree can withdraw 4% of their portfolio in the first year of retirement and adjust for inflation annually with a high probability of not running out of money over a 30-year retirement. So if you want $4,000 a month in retirement income from your investments, that's $48,000 a year. Divide $48,000 by 0.04, and your target portfolio is $1,200,000. Want $6,000 a month? Your target is $1,800,000. Want $3,000 a month? Your target is $750,000. This is your retirement number, not a vague goal, a specific, calculable target. And once you have the target, you can reverse engineer the monthly contribution you need to hit it, based on your current age, your current savings, and a realistic return assumption. The reason most people don't have this number is not because they don't care. It's because nobody ever walked them through the calculation and showed them how reachable it actually is when you start early enough.
Here is the framework. 4 steps, no jargon. Step 1. Calculate your retirement number. Decide what monthly income you want in retirement. Multiply it by 12 to get your annual target. Divide that number by 0.04. That's your portfolio target. Step 2. Assess your current position. What do you have saved right now? What is it projected to grow to at retirement, assuming an 8% annual return and no additional contributions? That gap between what you'll have and what you need is the number your monthly contributions have to close. Step 3. Automate the contribution. Set up automatic contributions to your 401k or IRA before your paycheck hits your checking account. Not after, before. If you have access to an employer match, contribute at minimum enough to capture 100% of it. That is an immediate 50% to 100% return on that portion of your money with zero market risk. There is no investment on earth that beats a full employer match.
Step 4. Increase contributions on a schedule. Every time you receive a raise, commit to directing at least 50% of the after-tax increase into your retirement account before your lifestyle has a chance to absorb it. This one behavior, applied consistently, is how middle-class earners build 7-figure retirement portfolios. The system isn't complicated. The discipline required to build it is minimal once it's automated. The only thing standing between most people and this system is the moment they decide to set it up.
Here is the part that surprises most people. Earning more money without this system doesn't make the retirement problem better. It makes it worse. Lifestyle inflation is one of the most reliable and least discussed mechanisms of financial self-sabotage in the middle class. When income rises, spending rises to match it, usually faster. A bigger house requires bigger maintenance, bigger taxes, bigger insurance. A nicer car means a higher payment, higher insurance, higher depreciation. A higher income bracket can even bring higher stress, higher social expectations, and higher spending to maintain an identity that income now seems to demand. None of that builds retirement wealth.
The research on this is stark. Studies consistently show that high-income earners who don't manage lifestyle inflation retire with retirement savings no better, and sometimes worse, than moderate-income earners who automated their savings early and left them alone. The number that matters is not how much you earn. The number that matters is the gap between what you earn and what you spend, and how much of that gap you consistently direct toward assets that compound over time. High income with high lifestyle costs equals low net savings rate. Low net savings rate equals the $134,000 median at 60. You've seen where that road ends. Even people who understand everything in this video, who feel the urgency, who do the math, who set up the system, still get derailed. Not by ignorance, by 3 specific psychological traps that show up again and again. Trap 1, the emergency pause that becomes permanent. Something goes wrong. A medical bill, a car repair, a period of reduced income. The retirement contribution gets paused, reasonably, temporarily. And then the temporary pause becomes the new normal, because restarting requires an active decision, and the urgency of the emergency has passed. Build a rule. Contributions only pause with an explicit restart date already scheduled. Trap 2. Cashing out during job transitions. According to Vanguard data, approximately 40% of workers cash out their 401k when they change jobs instead of rolling it over. They pay the 10% early withdrawal penalty, they pay income tax on the full amount, and they lose all future compounding on that money. On a $30,000 balance at age 35, that single decision can cost over $300,000 in lost retirement wealth by age 65. Always roll over. Never cash out. Trap 3. Treating retirement accounts as an emergency fund. When the retirement account grows to a number that feels real, $20,000, $50,000, $80,000, it starts to look like a solution to non-retirement problems. A home renovation, a business idea, a financial crisis. And the early withdrawal penalties and taxes make this one of the most expensive sources of money you can access. Your retirement account is not a savings account. Treat it as permanently inaccessible until retirement and build a separate emergency fund to handle everything else.
Let's come back to where we started. That picture of retirement. The porch, the coffee, the trips. The version of your life where money isn't the first thought when you wake up. That picture is not a fantasy for the people who got lucky or the people who made a fortune. It's the outcome of a system. Started early enough, automated consistently enough, and protected stubbornly enough from the traps that derail most people before they get there. The median 55-year-old has $134,000 saved. That's not their fault. Nobody showed them the system. Nobody walked them through the math. Nobody warned them about present bias and lifestyle inflation and the catastrophic cost of cashing out during a job transition.
You've seen it now. The only question is what you do with it. If you're watching this and you haven't started yet, start today. Not next month, not after the next life event. Open the account today and set up the smallest automatic contribution your budget can handle. You can adjust the amount later. What you cannot adjust is when you started. If you've started but you're not on track, run the numbers. Calculate your retirement number using the 4% rule. Check the gap. Build a plan to close it, 1 percentage point increase at a time.
And if you've already got a solid system running, protect it. Guard it against 3 traps. Roll over every 401k. Leave the account alone. Keep the lifestyle in check as the income grows. This is the map. You have it now. Go build the nest egg.